Hello, and welcome to this demonstration of the Model Context Protocol, MCP agent. Today, I'm excited to show you how MCP enables seamless integration between AI models and specialized tools. In this video, you'll see how MCP creates a bridge between language models and external tools, a practical implementation of an AI assistant that can perform both mathematical operations and sentiment analysis, the power of LangChain and LangGraph combined with MCP for building intelligent agents. Whether you're a developer looking to extend AI capabilities or just curious about the future of how AI agent assistants, this demonstration will show you how MCP makes it easy to create more capable AI systems without complex integration. Let's get started. Our MCP agent consists of three main components. First is the agent client. This is the central component that orchestrates communication between the user and the tools, uses LangChain to integrate with GPT-4o Mini, the large language model, implements a LangGraph workflow for conversation management, and provides a command line text interface. The following two components are specialized MCP servers. First, we have math tools. This exposes two mathematical operations of addition and multiplication. And the second tool, sentiment tools, analyzes the emotional tone of text and returns a structured element, a sentiment data that rates the text as positive, negative, or neutral. These components work together to create an agent that can understand natural language requests and route them to the appropriate tools. Let's now see these components in action. Right. This command starts the agent and opens a command line interface for interaction. So we type in Python the agent underscore client. And here the agent starts, and you can see it knows about the math tools and the sentiment tools, and it's now ready for my first question. So let's ask, what tools do you have available? All right, and it says that I have access to two sets of tools, the math tools and the sentiment tools. All right, so let's see if we can get a little bit more information about the tools. List details about each tool. And you can see here it identifies it as the math tools, that there's an addition and multiplication, and it provides the arguments that it needs to have to do to make use of those two tools. It also notice that it has a sentiment analysis tool with one function of analyze sentiment, and here it gives the arguments that it just needs a string of text, and it provides an assessment. In particular, the assessment is a classification of whether it's positive, negative, or neutral. So with this, let's give it a try. Let's first try out the math tool. So we'll do, what is 24 plus 18? And you can see here it correctly identified that this was a question about math. It is accessing the math tools, and it provides the response of 24 plus 18 equals 42. It can also do a little bit more simpler text string. So let's do 7 times 9. So where we now use the x for the multiplication operator. Again, it detected it was a question about math, knew that it was for multiplication, so 7 multiplied by 9 equals 63. Again, if you remember, I said earlier, the math tool only supports addition and multiplication, so what happens if we ask it to do division? So what is 100 divided by 5? And it properly says I cannot perform division at the moment. that the tool can only do add or multiply numbers. Okay, so with that, now let's move on to sentiment analysis. So we'll try this first text. I love the model context protocol. Let's see what it says about I love the model context protocol. Here it properly identified that it needed to do sentiment analysis, send it to the sentiment tool, and here's the response, and in particular the assessment is positive. All right, so let's try a different set of text. These integrations are very frustrating. Okay, again, it knew it needed to do a sentiment analysis, and from that, it sent it there, and these integrations are very frustrating, got rated as negative. All right, so let's do one last thing. The sky is blue. So, I mean, this is a more factual thing, not necessarily a sentiment one way or the other. So let's see what it says here. Again, it went to the sentiment tools, and it came back and said the sky is blue is neutral. All right, so that's good. All right, so let's try some edge cases. First, again, this agent can deal with questions related to addition, multiplication, and sentiment analysis. But what if I ask a question that's not related to those three areas, but is related to geography, for example? So what is the capital of Hawaii? And it comes back and says, I cannot provide information outside of mathematical operations or sentiment analysis. Okay. With that, this ends the demonstration. Hopefully you have a good overview of what the capabilities of this tool. All right, to close off this demo, let's do a behind the scenes look. So what you see here is the GitHub repo directory for the agent. So first, let's look at the tools. So we'll start off with the math tools. And what you'll see here is each of the functions in the tool is basically a Python function. So here's the Python function to add two numbers. And what we do is we decorate that function with the MCP tool decorator. So that's addition. This is for multiplication. The thing I'll point out is each of the functions has a doc string. The doc string is the detailed tool details that was listed in the demo with that. All right, so that's the math tools. So let's look at the sentiment tools. Similarly, the function to do the sentiment analysis is a Python function that's decorated with the MCP tool decorator, and then the doc string has the information that's displayed when a user asks to provide details about the tools. All right, so that's the tools in a nutshell. So now let's look at the agent itself. Basically, the first part here is I just want to point out the system message that I use for all the prompts when I'm talking to the LM. So basically, I'm saying this is a assistant that's helpful for mathematical operations and sentiment analysis. I say it basically has access to only two sets of tools, the math and sentiment tools. And it's this part here that says where I tell the agent that you only can do those tasks related to those tools. So if you get a request that's outside of the scope of these two tools, then just respond that you can't do the operation. Okay, so that's basically setting the context for the agent. And now what you see here, this is where I access the OpenAI, the GPT-4o mini model using LangChain's integration with that. Here, I'm doing the telling the agent client from an MCP perspective that it has access to two tools, and this is how you can access those MCP servers for those tools. And since we're running in a LangGraph workflow, we now start defining the nodes that make up the workflow graph. So this defines the node for the accessing the tools. These remaining functions are the functional nodes in the workflow that helps control the flow of the agent's operation as it interacts with the user. And finally, once we define those node functions, we now start building the graph. So this part of the code builds the workflow graph. Here at the beginning part, we're adding the nodes of the workflow to the graph. Here we're starting to add the edges to the workflow graph, and this is where we finally compiled the graph to be able to be used by LangGraph. Okay, and again, just to kind of show the details of it, once the graph is built, this is what it looks like. So here, from the start, we prompt the user. Based on the prompt from the user, it'll identify what what tool to call. If it's the appropriate call to the tool, it'll call the tool, send a response back, send it to the node to print the results, and go back to prompt the user for another request. And if the user sends in a an empty string, that ends the session with the user. All right. With that, that kind of gives an overview of the internals of how the agent works. So as we've seen, the Model Context Protocol provides a powerful framework for connecting AI models with specialized tools. With minimal code, we've created an agent that can understand natural language requests, route queries to appropriate specialized tools, and return the formatted results to users. This approach makes AI assistants more capable while keeping the architecture modular and extensible. Thank you for watching. If you have questions or want to explore the code further, check out the GitHub repository for this project. And again, if you like this video, like and subscribe to my channel. Thank you.